You, along with Senator Tester, have made a move to overturn um, the Biden administration's decision and the USDA's decision to allow imports of beef from Paraguay. As you tackle this issue, um, why is it so critical that this is something that's addressed and is done so in an expedient manner?
This is about providing consumers the confidence that the beef that they are providing to their families is healthy beef. And American producers go to great lengths to make sure that they do everything they can to provide the best beef they possibly can. And unfortunately, once in a while, a different administration will step in and they will decide to allow additional imported beef from countries that sometimes don't have the best health records or health capabilities when it comes to the maintenance of their food oversight. In this particular case, Paraguay has had a problem with outbreaks of foot and mouth disease in the past. And unfortunately, the last one occurred in 2012. But the Biden administration has been looking back at some reviews that they've done in 2008 and 2014. They have not reviewed it since then. We think there should be an independent review completed prior to the lifting of the ban, which is currently in place on beef coming from Paraguay.
And this is a piece of legislation that's backed by 3 cattle groups.
That's correct. The legislation is supported by RCAF USA, U.S. Cattlemen's Association, and the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. The whole idea here is not to give the American consumer any reason to believe that the beef that they see on the shelf, is anything except healthy, good, and good for their families. And all we need is to have, one problem out of Paraguay, and it sets us back in terms of making sure that there is still that confidence with those consumers. The other piece of this, we're actually looking at taking 2 approaches. We've introduced legislation that would keep the ban in place until such time as an independent commission actually agreed and looked at current data on Paraguay's operations. And the second is a Congressional Review Act, which we can't authorize until the Department of Ag actually submits the formal rule in writing. Once that occurs, we will then do a congressional resolution of disapproval. We think we can get it through the House and the Senate. The president could veto it, which would then require an override, but at least it gives us 2 bites at the apple, so to speak, to try to limit the beef coming into the United States at this time until we know that it's safe.
And this is an issue where you're saying we don't ever want Paraguayan beef. We just want to make sure that it is meeting USDA and U.S. standards for quality.
That is correct. Look, our farmers and ranchers produce the best beef in the world. But if beef from other countries can come in without having it being labeled, and I'm a believer in the mandatory country of origin labeling, and that would take care of a lot of the problems. But since we don't have MCOOL in place today, the next best thing is to make very sure that any beef imports coming in meet the standards that our farmers and ranchers meet. I mean, our guys are proud of what they do. They're proud of the product they produce. We just want to make darn sure that when they're competing with other countries, that the other countries are following the same guidelines that we are, and that protects our consumers. Once again, it comes back down to consumer protection and transparency about where this beef is coming from, and making sure that that the beef that is being imported meets the same health and safety standards as U.S. beef does.
What's the timeline on this, Senator?
Well, the actual legislation can be brought before the committee at any time, as soon as we're back in session again. The congressional resolution of disapproval, which we can't do until we come back in, but the congressional resolution of disapproval will probably move more quickly because it's considered a privileged motion. And since it's a privileged motion, we can get that up for a vote fairly quickly. We'll have to get folks on board with us first, but we can file that, and I would expect that that'll be filed in the first few months.
So early 2024 is your goal.
That's our goal right now. We hope to have that in. And in the meantime, the actual legislation itself can also move forward, but that'll require the chairman of the different committees to agree to do so. But the congressional resolution of disapproval can go directly to the floor.